Baruch Hashem, 4 or 5 years ago, we did one of our first classes in Montreal in his home. So Be'ezrat Hashem, may this home be a place of only smachot and only of good things. Amen. Hashem. You know, Abotai, right now, we are in a very unique place in the year. Be'ezrat Hashem, in this week, we're going to finish the Sefer of Bereshit, the Sefer of Creation, and we're going to, Be'ezrat Hashem, start the book of Shemot in the upcoming Shabbat. We know, Abotai, the Zohar HaKadosh talks in length about what is this concept of the book of Bereshit. A lot of the times we think that the book of Bereshit, it is just a book of stories, a book of essentially speaking about how our world was created, a book of information of what occurred in the past. The Zohar HaKadosh says that actually the book of Bereshit is called the book of the 6,000 years. Meaning that if we look into every single parasha, it doesn't just represent a time of the past or something that occurred in the past, but two, something that will be in the future. The Zohar HaKadosh says from the parasha of Bereshit until the parasha that we're going to read, Be'ezrat Hashem this week's Shabbat, Vayechi, it concludes all the events and all what will occur within this world, where Bereshit was the Bria of that world, the Bria of this functioning planet that we live in. And Vayechi Yaakov Be'eretz Mitzrayim represents what? Represents Am Yisrael reaching to a place of Geulah. And this place of Geulah represents a complete world once again. A world where we will no longer need to deal with all the sufferings, all the hardships that we see this broken world holds. So when we go through the book of Bereshit, something needs to be very clear. And that is that every single chapter is a preparation. And not if it's a preparation for what's going to come, but rather it is an exact, word for word, guideline of how our world will be redeemed and how our world will come to a place of Geulah. Now, knowing so, when we approach to the parasha of Vayechi, we have to keep our eyes extremely open. Being that Vayechi represents essentially our Geulah. It represents the moment that Am Yisrael will live in a world which will be no longer broken. The same way that we say that Yaakov Avinu alav shalom lived in Mitzrayim, but it was years of tov. It was years of sweetness. It was years of goodness. It was years that Yaakov never lived such good years in his lifetime like he lived throughout those years. Knowing so, we need to understand that in this week's parasha lies essentially the secret in the way of how Geulah will come within our world. Knowing so, we really need to try to understand not only this week's parasha, but also the last few parashot that we read, being that they're really the preparation for our Geulah. So, Abotai, something in this week's parasha always stood out to us. And that is the fact that Yaakov Avinu alav shalom lived such good years in Mitzrayim. We know, Abotai, that Yaakov Avinu alav shalom was a tzaddik. Bachir Shebavot represents essentially the epitome of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to do with creating our forefathers. To the point where there are midrashim that say that Avraham and Yitzchak were born just for Yaakov to be born. If that is the case, how come out of all the places that Yaakov lived, the place that he lived the best, most comfort, most happy, most at peace, most bishlimut, happens to be the most impure place in the world too? If we're talking about the most holy person that we are all named after, Bnei Israel, there must be a little bit of a deeper understanding of why Dafka there, Yaakov reached to Shlemut. And that's something that I would like to truly try to understand and truly try to come to a place of pulling out some sort of tools that we can all use, regardless of where we live, regardless of what time of period of life we're going through, regardless of anything. Now, for all those that are coming forward and just thinking, maybe it was just a story. Maybe it was just an occurrence. Maybe there is not a big lesson to be learned from it. The Zohar HaKadosh, as a rule, says, any place in the Torah where we see a language of like a story, not something simple, automatically, that there is a secret that is hidden within. Being that HaKadosh Baruch Hu within the Torah couldn't be as explicit as sometimes we wanted it to be. In reality, HaKadosh Baruch Hu needed to put in place secrets and essentially tool that we can pull out, but also that would be formatted in a manner that would last time. The way humans live, it turns out to be that the one sort of information that never gets lost are stories. Stories is something that can be repeated. Stories is something that we all have some sort of pull and desire to hear and to tell a story. Stories, as Zohar HaKadosh says, is always the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu hides a secret, a message, something that couldn't be revealed out in the open in a very outright manner. Any place we read, any sort of language of story, there is a secret, there is a message. So saying that Yaakov just lived in Mitzrayim because that's what he did, it's not the case at all. Chas v'shalom to say that. The Zohar HaKadosh says, a person that says that, it's like he pulls out life under his feet. So Hashem yirachem. So today, B'at Hashem, we would really try to understand this and come to B'at Hashem a place of truly holding it within our hands. So now, there's a question that was asked actually 2 nights ago in the class that we did at your sister's home, that I think is a very interesting question. And I think it's really going to help us understand the result of this week's parasha, which is Yaakov arriving to Egypt and living beautiful lives. And that is the few parashot that we read in the last few weeks. And what we see within them, we see, Abotai, that Yosef HaTzadik is one of the most important avot, one of the most important patriarchs within our Torah. Farshim even say that if we look in the actual text of how many times he's mentioned, he's maybe the second or third most mentioned figure in the Torah, right after Moshe Rabbeinu. So we see that Yosef HaTzadik's doings were crucial for Am Yisrael and crucial for how we got to where we are today. So Yosef HaTzadik's doings is something that needs to be understood. There's a question that for many years we asked, and someone in the class repeated to us, that always sat in our mind, and we never got a good answer that really brought us to a place of being at peace with it. And that is regarding the question of Yosef's choice to not tell his father all the years that he was alive. Yosef HaTzadik is one of the few people in the Torah that we give him the status of tzaddik. Now, being that we give him a status of the tzaddik, it means that his actions need to hold up to that standard. It's not any normal person that we talk about as just maybe a supporting character throughout our history. Yosef was one of the main ones. And he's one of the main ones that we dub tzaddik. If we call him tzaddik, it means that every action needs to be according to how a tzaddik would act and how a tzaddik would hold himself. You see, Yosef HaTzadik lives years upon years in Egypt. He doesn't just live in Egypt as a citizen. He sits as Melech Mitzrayim. He sits as king of Eretz Mitzrayim. Yosef HaTzadik, with all his power, with all his influence, couldn't take a piece of leather, write something, send it to his father and tell him, Abba, I'm alive. Especially that we know that Yaakov's sufferings wasn't any normal sufferings of a father that lost his child, Chas v'shalom. The Midrash says that we know that every person that loses a loved one, there are stages within the Shiva process that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends an angel. Some Mefarshim say it's the same angel that touches us when a person leaves the stomach of his mother. And this angel comes, touches the individual, and helps him to forget. So on the Shiva, 7 days end, the angel comes, taps and helps him to forget. Shloshim, taps and helps him to forget. Shana, taps and helps him to forget. Yaakov in Alav Shalom suffering, something very crucial was missing. And that was, Yaakov had the exact same suffering that the moment he heard that Yosef was Chaya Ra'a Chalatu, years upon years after. Being that in a normal case, when a person loses his loved one or a close person, there is help from Shamayim to help him heal from the loss. Yaakov, the angel never showed up. Shamayim never helped him heal, being that Yosef didn't pass away. All these years, Yosef is sitting on the throne of Eretz Mitzrayim, the most powerful country in the world. And he doesn't have the tzidkut to help his father to end that mourning, a deep mourning that we've never seen in Torah in history. Where is the tzidkut of Yosef? So, a lot of people that went to classes last week have an answer already in mind. Yosef was a part of the Shbuah. That in Shamayim, when the brothers sold Yosef, they needed a tent for Minyan. And they called HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu concluded and took place within this Shvuah. And that's the reason why Yitzchak Avinu alav Shalom didn't tell his father that Yosef was alive. But this, Rabotai, doesn't answer a second part of Yosef's actions. And that is what? And that is in last week's parasha. The brothers come to Egypt. It says that Yosef sees his brothers. He gets full of excitement. He calls them immediately. He gets his brothers within the chamber. And it's very strange how he's holding himself. The Midrash says he was turning around, he was crying, coming back, screaming at them. He couldn't handle the pressure, turning back, crying. And then Yosef does something unimaginable. He takes Yehuda and Reuven, and he tells them, you have a younger brother at home? He said, yes, but this younger brother is untouchable. He's our father's last son from his zivug, Rachel. Yosef says, Bemet? No problem. Give me Shimon. I'm putting him in jail. I give him back to you when you bring me Binyamin. The question could be asked is, where is the Rachmanut? Where is the kindness? Where is the mercy of Yosef on all the pressure and sadness that he's putting on his father? No one swore him to make this test come to fruition. It wasn't a part of not telling the father that he's alive and his brothers sold him. We see that Yosef is doing things that doesn't seem like a tzaddik at all. Yosef knows that Yaakov already lost him. Now he doesn't even know what's happening with Shimon. Now you want to add to it Binyamin? If the Torah writes something about Yosef, there must be a reason and explanation behind it. How can we justify such actions? So now, but for years we're thinking about this. And in the last year we came up with a beautiful answer that I think can open up the door for a big lesson we should all know and hold in every moment of our life. There's a beautiful Gemara in Masechet Brachot that talks about this idea of three people that Hashem gets extremely angry when they do these actions. The Gemara asks, what are these three people? The Gemara says, first of all, the tzaddik, the Rav, that refrains from sharing his Torah. Some people are clearly gifted, whether it be with understanding Torah, whether it be with developing Torah, whether it be just remembering Torah. But this Rav decides that I'm not going to spread my Torah and share my knowledge and share my passion. I'm going to keep my knowledge for myself. The Gemara says Hashem gets extremely upset with that. The second one is Ed, a witness. A witness that does what? A witness that walked in the right place in the right time, saw something that occurred, and when called to Bet Din, he says, you know what, I don't want to get involved. Even though I saw something that could essentially bring a met truth to the matter, I don't want to, maybe because he knows one of the parties, whatever it is, I don't want to put myself within that place. I will not testify what I saw. The Gemara says Hashem hates that. And the third one is something that the Gemara calls Hanavi HaKovesh et Nevuato. What does that mean? It's a prophet that receives prophecy and decides that instead of doing everything in his power to make sure that prophecy, the will of Hashem, will come to fruition, he decides to hide it. So a story that we can all probably know and associate to, it's like the famous story with Shlomo HaMelech, of the young boy that wanted to learn the language of the birds. The boy that wanted to learn the language of the birds at its core, Arizal says, is a form of prophecy, like some sort of way of how prophets would get their prophecy. Instead of using that information that he received to ensure that Hashem's will comes to fruition, he took that information to actually benefit his situation or his desire or something that maybe is beneficial for him in that moment. The Gemara says, the prophet that receives prophecy, which is in other words the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and doesn't do everything in his power to make it happen, makes HaKadosh Baruch Hu furious. We know, Botai, that Yosef HaTzadik, throughout his life, the Torah talks about two dreams that he had. Now, it's obvious these two dreams were very special dreams. I am sure Yosef HaTzadik had many dreams throughout his life, But the Torah doesn't go into detail of seeing it important to mention them. These two dreams that Yosef has, according to all the opinions, are dreams that come bibechinat, like what? Like a prophecy. These two dreams were received by Yosef as a prophecy. That is the main and the only reason why the Torah sees it as important to even bring it as something of our history, being that they weren't just dreams that people have when they go to sleep, but rather a crucial part of what will be. What are these two dreams? The first one, that Yosef HaTzadik is in a field, and there is 11 shibolim, 11 pieces of wheat that are bowing to him. We learn through Mefalshim that these 11 pieces of wheat represent what?
His brothers.
Represent his 11 brothers. And the second dream is a dream that he's in the sky and he sees 11 stars, sun and the moon around him, and the 11 stars and sun and the moon are bowing down to him. These are the two dreams that Yosef had, that as we know, came as prophecy. He said, Abutai, maybe we can actually take this whole scenario and explain it in a manner like this. Yosef HaTzadik, all these years that he's sitting in Egypt, he's a tzaddik. He wants to end the suffering of his father. So Yosef HaTzadik sits and waits and prays for the day that he can finally release his father from this suffering and bring him to a place of calmness, of simcha. So why doesn't he? He said, maybe we can say, the reason that all these years Yosef holds back from telling his father that he's alive is from a simple answer. And that is what? And that is the first prophecy that he received was his brothers bowing to him. And the second prophecy that he received was his brothers and his parents bowing to him. Yosef told himself, if I will tell my father that I am alive, what will the first thing that my father do? Get up, grab his bags, and run towards any direction that Yosef is there. Or in simpler words, Yaakov would bring his family down to Egypt and reunite with Yosef. Or in a different explanation, a different way of explaining it, it's that the second dream will come to fruition before the first. Or in other words, cancelling the first prophecy that Yosef received. We understand that this bowing is not just meaning one another. This bowing is an aspect of taking one's allegiance to the king, taking one's, giving oneself to the king. Maybe we can say, all these years Yosef is sitting and praying and waiting for the day that finally he will be able to tell Yaakov that he's alive. But he needs to first make sure that the first prophecy, the first dream came to fruition. So Yosef waits. And he counts the days to see that finally his brothers will show up. And if his brothers will show up and bow to him, the first dream will be behind him, and he could immediately tell his father that he's alive. We see this even how he named his kids. He named his kids based on the fact that Hashem helped him forget his parents. Avi, that Hashem helped me forget all what occurred in the house of my parents. How can we explain such a thing? Now we understand. Being that Yosef truly wanted all these years to tell his father that he was alive, he needed to complete the first dream. And we see this play out perfectly. Yosef HaTzadik one day is looking from his window. And he sees what? He sees a brother. He starts to cry. Why is he crying? He's crying because he's finally able to fulfill the first dream and tell his father he's alive. The Torah says, Yosef said, bring me my brothers immediately. They call this group of people. Yosef is giving his back, the Midrash says, and he's crying and crying and crying and crying. He turns around, something happens, and then Vayidaber Yosef Kashot. Yosef starts attacking them. What happened? You were just crying for how excited you were, and now you're screaming at them? Why? Yosef said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's missing the 11th. The dream was that there was 11 brothers, not 10. As long as the dream doesn't come to fruition, it never happened. So Yosef starts to think to himself, what can I possibly do? What can I possibly bring to fruition that will make Binyamin come down here? comes up with a plan. The plan was what? Take Shimon, send Yehuda and Reuven to bring back Binyamin, and only in that manner Yosef can tell his father that he's alive. And we see that occur. Immediately after Binyamin comes, with Shimon Minabo, he told them, bring Shimon quickly from the pit. And the first question he asks is my father still alive? We see Yosef a tzaddik following through with the actions of a tzaddik of what? Of always, number one, having the derech eretz to respect the will of Yaakov, and also two, having the desire to fulfill the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With this explanation, it's one of the only explanations that actually shows the parasha and all these parashot, and gives sense and logic to all the things that occurred throughout these few weeks. Now, but I was thinking, why was this so important for Yosef? Why did Yosef see it as something that was even comparable of leaving my father suffer all these years, or telling my father, or canceling the first prophecy? Was it worth it? Was preserving that first prophecy worth seeing his father suffer for so many years? Is it something that was so crucial to Yosef that he needed to do? And that's something that I would like to try to understand. Before we understand this, we have to understand, to go back to that Gemara. That Gemara says, a Navi, the prophet, who destroys a prophecy, or pickles it, kovesh, meaning preserves it, puts it away, keeps it for another time, it makes Hashem angry. When the Gemara says that, we can come to a very, very clear understanding. And that is what? If it makes Hashem angry, it means it's something bad. And if it's something bad, it has to have a root from the beginning of Brit HaOlam. Hashem is not moody, Baruch Hashem. He doesn't just decide to be angry one day out of the bloom. If there's something that infuriates the Shekhinah, infuriates HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's a flaw in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's desire of how our world should be. So how does this go against the Torah? How does this go against Hashem's desire? How does this go against HaKadosh Baruch Hu's plan of how we should act as human beings? So to understand this, we have to go a little bit back. A little back to when? A little bit back to the first day that we were walked on this earth. Now, Botai, I found a beautiful question in the Pardes Rimonim that I think could be very, very interesting. The Ramak talks about the first day of creation of Adam. We know that Adam's creation was not on the first day, but rather on 6. It was right Erev Shabbat. Or in other words, the entire creation was in its place. Animals were created, all the creatures were created, the plants, the leaves, everything was already ready to have Adam come to the world and to complete it. The Torah says that the first day that Adam walked on earth, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him a task. And what was the task? Hashem said, look, Adam, you are my partner. I created all these creations. Let's name them together. So the Midrashim said that Hashem called all the animals and they made a line. And all the animals stood in front of Adam. And Adam named each one. The elephant, he called elephant. The lion, he called lion. The bird, he called bird. And each animal received a name of its own. When the job was done, they sang the song that we read every single Friday. Hashem melach gaot lavesh. It was beautiful. Then Hashem came along to Adam and said, you know, Adam, now everything has a name, except for you. So let's name you together. And then the Torah says that Adam and HaKadosh Baruch Hu came up with the name Adam. Why Adam? Because the Torah says, Ki mina Adama bata. Because Adam was created from where? From the dirt. And being that we were created from the dirt, it's suitable and it's proper for our name to follow from where we came from. Like many Rabbanim that we call them by the name that they were born in. Rabbi Breslev comes from Breslev. All the tzaddikim, where they were born, where they came from, that's where we essentially name them. It's a proper thing to do. Now, but the Ramak brings a beautiful question. And that is, all the animals came from the dirt. Everything came from the dirt. Our whole world expanded from a single rock. Out of all the animals that are actually animals, you choose to name the most holy creation, the creation that's in the image of God, after dirt. It's more proper to name other animals after dirt. They don't need to go to Gan Eden. They don't need to study Torah. They don't need to do mitzvot. They're not in the image of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzelem Elokim. You choose the most holy creation to name after the most, literally, dirty dirt thing that exists in the world, dirt. What's the logic behind such an act? What's the explanation behind naming us Adam? Shina B'tai is the beautiful answer that I think it's sweet like honey. When we look at the Adamah, at dirt, we have sometimes a very tendency to look at it as an invaluable thing. It's everywhere. It's abundant. It's dirty. It's sticky. Nothing happens with it. Zohar HaKadosh says that the dirt is a creation that seems to be simple, but it has a gift that no other creation in the world can do. And that is what? And that is not necessarily be special on its own, but rather have the gift to help to bring anything that comes in contact, fulfill and reach to its maximum potential. Where the dirt's gift is that whatever you put inside, it grows. And we can give an analogy. It's like a big seed, a big fruit. It's literally a bowl of potential. If you grow a beautiful tree, you can have food for a lifetime from it. But a seed, if you hang it, as potential as it is and as great as it could be, it's worth nothing. What allows it to be something is what? A pile of dirt. So even though the dirt is not valuable at surface level, it has the ability to create value that nothing else could create. Zohar HaKadosh said, dirt's job in this world is to help grow. Even though it seems simple, it has the potential to change everything. It's like you can look at clay. Clay is dirt. But from clay you can create anything. You can create homes, you can create tools, you can create a world out of it. So too is this concept of dirt. Simple, but its upside is endless. Maybe we can say that is the reason why we are called Adam. Being that what? Being that our main purpose in this world is sometimes not even to live for ourselves or to be for ourselves, but rather to ensure the growth and the expansion of something else's potential. And that's what all the Mekubalim say. Within us, we all carry something that is full of potential. And that is what? The seed that we call our neshama. And we live in this world not to just eat and drink and move around and open doors and close doors and drive around in our cars, or in this case, move snow around from right to left. But rather we come in this world to ensure that our neshama grows. Even Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen talks about this concept of why neshamot even come down to the world in the first place. They are shetulim bebet Hashem. They come from Bet Hashem. Why you send them down to the world? Because in this world, when they are planted within a vessel of dirt, a vessel of ground, Adama, Adam, they could flourish, they can grow, and they could end up leaving this world at a much higher level than they came down to. Our job in this world, Rabotai, was always the job of Adama. And that is not always to live for ourselves, but rather to ensure growth around us. That anything that Hashem puts within us, whether it be within our body, within our character, within whatever it is, or within our life, situations, occurrence, we make sure to make that occurrence or whatever that is reach its maximum potential. Based off of that, we could understand very clearly why Yosef HaTzadik was so eager to not change the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem created him and everything around him not to be on his own, but rather to do what? To take what Hashem gave him and to make it reach its maximum potential. Those prophecies were not just prophecies for no reason. It was a seed. Yosef's job was to take that seed and help it and nurture it, become into a tree, to grow to something much bigger. And so to Abotai is similar in every single thing that happens in our life. And we see this with the first mitzvah Hashem gave us in the Torah. Now, Abotai, the first mitzvah that Hashem gave us as humanity, not from a Torah basis, is pru uvu, multiplying. We always asked ourselves, Hashem created Adam HaRishon. He created Chava. He created the entire world. Why does he need us to start making more of us? It's a little bit strange. Hashem does so much already when He created this world. He couldn't just create like a little printing machine where men come out, make it simple. The first mitzvah is to just make more of you. It seems a little bit pointless. What's the purpose behind this? Maybe we can say that when a person has a child, his life changes completely. Something in his mind completely shifts. And that is what? That he no longer lives life for himself, but rather realizes that his job in this world is to help the growth of something else. And maybe we can say that that is the epitome of why we're here. It's not necessarily to just be on our own. It's rather to ensure the growth of everything around us. Rather to make sure that every seed that Hashem puts within our life is a seed that will grow and will meet and reach to its final potential. Maybe we can say, Rabotai, that is truly our mission in this world. And it's supported by so many teachings. You know, the Zohar, it said that one of the sins that Hashem despises more than any other sin is Bal Tashchit. What's Bal Tashchit? It's waste. It's something that Hashem gets infuriated by. And very few things makes Hashem upset. And we can find that all the line of things that make Hashem upset always return to this aspect of what? Of waste. Taking something good and trashing it. We even see this, especially in Mechila, to get a little bit negative here. But a person that Chas v'Shalom takes his own life, the Torah acts in a manner that is not seen in any other place. It's like Hashem said, I want nothing to do with him. Don't bury him next to my children. Get them away from me. A person that takes his life, why is it so bad? It's so bad because Hashem gave you such a beautiful seed within you, life itself. Instead of taking it and helping it grow and reach its potential, you threw it out to the garbage. It makes Hashem upset in a manner that nothing else could do. We see, Rabotai, that we follow almost every line. What makes Hashem upset is when we take a blessing, an abundance, something positive that He gave us in our life, and we put it to waste. And we put it aside. And we show that we no longer want it. It's no longer valuable to us. It's something that we're not going to take it as a gift and make sure that it reaches to its maximum of growth. Rabotai, our job in our life is to ensure that every single thing that occurs, everything that gets through us, everything that passes us, everything that comes in front of us, we must ensure that whether it be good or whether it be bad, we ensure that it reaches its potential. We ensure that it comes to a place that it's not wasted within our world. It's not something that came without reason, without purpose. And Rabotai, everything has reason. Everything has purpose. It's our job to make something out of it. It's our job to help it grow. And that, Rabotai, is even something negative. Sometimes, Rabotai, something negative occurs in our life. We say, Hashem, why? If it's from Hashem, it's a seed. And if it's a seed, it means there's a reason that it's there. So help it grow. Not necessarily make it bigger, but help it reach to a place where you completed it. You did your job. Even something negative within our life, it needs to be something that helps us reach to a further level than just take it and put it away in the side. You see this with Yosef. It says that when Yosef told their brothers that it was him, Yosef, the brothers, they died, the Midrash says. They said, impossible. We did this and he's in front of us. It's one of the biggest tochechot, rebuking that we can see in history. The Midrash says that Yosef wants to calm them down. So what does he do to calm them down? He tells them, no, brothers, calm down, don't worry. It's me, Yosef, but it's you that sold me here. I always ask, how is that calming them down? They're panicking. Their neshama went away from fear. You tell them, no, calm down. It was you that sold me here. Where's the logic in that? You say, maybe we can say something like this. There's a beautiful midrash that says that what made them die, because they saw Yosef was so big. They saw Yosef with so much potential. He had such a light that emanated from him. He said, imagine what he could have been if we didn't sell him. Look how bright he is. Look how much we prevented from the world to receive. Because if he was with Yaakov, and if he was in a place of Kiddusha, and not in a place of such Tum'ah, then he could have been something that has never been seen before. And Yosef looks at him and says, what? No. Because of you, I am here. You sold me here. Or in simpler words, he's looking at his brothers and he's saying, I reached to my place because of where I am. Because you sold me to Egypt. Because I got so much dirt thrown at me, my tree was able to grow further. Where I would never be able to reach to the level that I'm in if you didn't sell me to Egypt. So we see, Abotai, that even dirt that gets thrown at us sometimes that in life, we're not allowed to take it as dirt. We're not allowed to take it as Hashem's throwing more disgust on me. No. If he's throwing more dirt at you, it means that you have more potential to help your tree grow, to help your neshama grow, to help you the growth of what you came to this world to do. Abotai, everything that happens in our life, whether every word that we say, we gave a whole class about this. Every word that we say is Kodesh Kodeshim, especially preparation for the Yemei Shoavim, which we're not going to get into it now, but Yemei Shoavim, every word that comes out of our mouth needs to be a word with purpose. We always asked, if we look in the halachot of Lashon Hara, you find that something very interesting. If you apply all the halachot, you realize that you can't say anything. Because Hafetz Chaim says, if you talk bad, Lashon Hara. If you talk good about someone, it could be counted Lashon Hara. So what can you say? Maybe we can say, any word that is not essential is Lashon Hara. Anything that comes to a person's life and it's not something that serves purpose and pushes the individual forward, obviously it's bad. Being that our job is to take every moment, every situation, every occurrence, be positive or negative, every challenge, every gift, and ensure that we are doing our job as an Adam and making only growth come out of it. And I think, Abotai, that is the reason that the Zohar Kadosh says that when Bnei Israel were sent to Egypt, they said it didn't smell the same. The Midrash says that Egypt, when Bnei Israel were there, or at least when Yaakov and his sons were there, it turned like into Gan Eden. It had a smell of Gan Eden. And we see a lot of attributes of Gan Eden were present there. We see, for example, women were able to bring children with no pain. The Bnei Israel, they always said Bnei Kayon. They were able to study Torah. They truly turned Mitzrayim into Gan Eden. How? How did Yaakov and his children took the most dirty place, the most impure place, and turned it into the most holy place, Gan Eden? Yaakov and his children knew something very, very crucial. And that is, no matter what Hashem puts in front of you, if it seems like dirt, if it's not like dirt, if it's positive, it's not positive, it always has a place within our life to help us grow. Yaakov, the tribes, they took Mitzrayim as like a growth place. It was dirt everywhere. It's the most impure place. But in a place that is full of dirt, the seed has the potential to grow bigger and stronger than it ever can grow before. Abotai, our lives are all opportunity for us to grow in every level. Everything that Hashem puts us through, everything that Hashem gives us, everything that Hashem doesn't give us, it all is involved with us for one purpose, and ensure the growth of our seed. So Be'ezrat Hashem, B'zchut HaTzadik Rabbi Pinto, B'zchut all the tzaddikim, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us the ability, Be'ezrat Hashem, to always find growth within ourselves, to always ensure that everything that happens within our life is truly an ezer, a help to push us to one step forward, and never chas v'sham anything else. Amen. Is there any questions, Rabotai?